The year is 1999. We have just seen a rough cut of the long-awaited, long-awaited Star Wars prequel.
No, please, let's not.
Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And we are going to fix it. Cue the intro.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Mirror Movie Universe podcast. I'm Nate, I'm one half of the host of this shindig of a show, and across the aisle, and not across the country from me, is my older brother Dan. Say
older,
hi, Dan.
wiser, more handsome.
Hey, you know, you never had a phase.
Things.
I'll accept wiser in this context, because you never had a phase where Phantom Menace was your favorite Star Wars movie.
I am your Qui-Gon to your Obi-Wan.
Please don't die. Well, we spoiled the plot.
Well, we always do.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Do that thing where you go through the movie.
Well, yeah, okay,
Shortly.
So in order to talk about what we like and what we fix, we're going to have to talk about what happens in Episode 1, Phantom Menace. You remember those other Star Wars movies that were epic tales of knights and flyers and evil and good and mystical forces and technology and amazing adventures and sci-fi action? So, there's trade disputes about taxation, it's blockading a planet called Naboo because there's a trade federation that wants to stop the I don't know. Anyway, two Jedi Knights are dispatched to negotiate the trade dispute. I just summarized the opening crawl of the film. These two Jedi Knights are named Obi-Wan Kenobi, who sounds familiar. He's probably like 25 at this point, played by Ewan McGregor, and Qui-Gon Jinn, played by Liam Neeson. Mm-hmm. And he's the older mentor, master kind of guy in the relationship. They come onto one of these Trade Federation ships and say, hello, we'd like to negotiate. They escape from some gas. Some poison gas that floods into the room and get attacked by some evil battle droid robot things and stow away down to the planet of Naboo, where they
it's very cool.
It's very cool. It's not very cool. It's very cool.
It's a cool opening.
It's cool-ish. It's fine. So they're on Naboo and they meet a lizard rabbit guy named Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
Who takes them into the city. To free the Queen of Naboo, mm-hmm. who has been captured by the evil Trade Federation peoples. They escape while freeing some of the pilots and some security people, but there's really only like one ship worth of people that escapes. It's very much like Battlestar Galactica, which is much better than the Star Wars prequels. Anyway. Fine. Okay. They leave the planet, while the rest of the planet is essentially subjugated by these Trade Federation warmonger people. How did this relate to taxation? I don't know. I didn't understand it as a kid either. But
they wind up going to.
They wind up going to Tatooine.
Now that's a planet that you're familiar with.
Yes, and they end up meeting Anakin Skywalker there, who was a slave under the protection of a junk dealer named Watto. And if you remember from Return of the Jedi, Anakin Skywalker is the name of Darth Vader.
He may be Vader someday later, but
he's just a small fry. Yeah. Anyway, so what is this kid like? Is he like a moody teenager? He's got anger issues to work out? Is he really creepy, kid like in The Sixth Sense, like Haley Joel Osment? No, he is a 9-year-old boy who falls immediately in love with one of the handmaidens of the Queen named Padme. He asks if she is an angel, and it's actually kind of sweet. They need to fix their hyperdrive on the ship, so they enter the kid into a death-defying chariot race called a pod race, because Qui-Gon senses that he has the Force in him, quite a lot, more than even Master Yoda, whose name dropped. He wins the pod race, and it is very cool.
It's very cool.
It's very cool. He wins the pod race, and while they're going back to the ship, because he's freed, he leaves his mom on the desert planet. She's still a slave. And they never come back for her. Whoops. Not
in this movie.
Not in this movie. They're accosted by a dude with a red lightsaber, and if you've been watching Star Wars, you know that the red ones are bad. Mm-hmm. So they jump onto the ship and flee away and go to the capital of the galaxy called Coruscant, which is one giant city. Mm-hmm. Very cool. Lots of CGI going on. Looks pretty all right. They meet the Chancellor. The Chancellor is voted out and replaced by this dude named Palpatine, who is from Naboo and is a friend of the Queen's and all of this kind of stuff, and he's trying to move things along in the Senate to help them, but there's not proof that the Trade Federation is doing this, and that's a whole thing. But basically we spend 30 minutes to learn that the Jedi are worried about this Anakin kid because he's got too much fear, and this Palpatine dude is the Chancellor of the Galaxy now. That's never going to come up and bite us in the butt. So they go back to Naboo and for some reason bring the kid. I don't know, to liberate the planet. They kind of start a guerrilla war. The Gungans, who's Jar Jar Binks' lizard rabbit species, they have a big Lawrence of Arabia-esque style fight on the plains of Naboo. There's a gunfight in the Theed Palace. There's a lightsaber fight between the red lightsaber guy named Darth Maul and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. And Anakin, because he's a good pilot with the pod racing stuff, he flies up against the droid-controlled ships in orbit to fight the Trade Federation. It all goes fine for the good guys. The Gungans, except Qui-Gon Jinn gets stabbed and dies immediately. And Obi-Wan gets upset about this and slices Darth Maul in half, and he falls down a bottomless pit, never to return, unless you watch any of the Clone Wars show.
Which I did not, so I don't know.
Rebels show, or Solo, a Star Wars story. He shows up in that. He's like right at the very end. Anyway, so he's not dead, but for all intents and purposes of the movie, he is. Turns out Darth Sidious and Palpatine are the same person. Ooh, Darth Sidious is this evil Sith Lord who was the master of this guy who just got cut in half. They burn Qui-Gon's body, and it's very ominous. Anakin is going to be trained by Obi-Wan. And turns out that the Queen, this whole time, we find out in the reveal just before this final battle, was Padme, the gal that Anakin liked. Well, how convenient. And actually, she does a very blasting away droids and taking her own planet back, and it's very cool.
Yeah.
So that's Phantom Menace. It's a little off-putting if you waited since 1983 to see Star Wars and this is it. But, there's some good stuff in there. Dan, what do you like?
I think that this movie gets a bad rap. Let me just say that right out the gate.
I concur.
Star Wars was always like a kid's movie, okay? Like, they've got the teddy bears, the little Ewoks in Return of the Jedi, and in the original one, A New Hope was rated G, and George Lucas went to them and said, please rate it PG, so that we can get, older people to come watch it. Mm-hmm. It was always meant for kids, okay? Here's a couple things. I was thinking a lot about this, and like you said, I thought, the kid, maybe he should be older and angsty and moody and stuff. But I actually like that he's just a normal kid.
I do too, for the record. I also don't have any problem with Jake Lloyd. He was doing his best.
He did a great job. Yeah. He did a great job with what he was given. He did nothing bad to say about him.
Yeah.
He was fantastic in the role, it's actually kind of cool to think about, or at least interesting to think about, everyone's super evil started off normal, started off the same way that we all do.
Yeah.
And he had a hard life, a hard childhood, but it's kind of cool to see him as a kid and to see him get a crush on a girl and stuff, and it makes you think about that, everybody has those little moments in their backstory before something happens to make them evil. So I really like that.
Yeah.
The other big thing to call out here, oh my gosh, the Duel of the Fates.
Oh, yeah, the lightsaber fight at the end.
The lightsaber fight at the end is by far, and you tell me if I'm wrong, the best lightsaber fight that we have ever seen in the Star Wars universe. Think about it. Ray Park...
Hard agree.
Thank you. Ray Park is fantastic as Darth Maul. He doesn't speak, which is great. He gives such a physically intimidating performance. He's able to do all these amazing moves with the lightsaber.
Doesn't speak in the fight. He has 3 lines.
Okay, he doesn't speak in the fight. He has a few lines. But he's doing all these great moves with the lightsaber. Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor do a fantastic job, and they're fighting him with it, and it's 2 against 1, but they're really struggling.
Yeah.
John Williams, the score for that, oh my gosh, it's amazing. This operatic, epic score here.
Oh, yeah.
It is, for me, the best Star Wars music is that Duel of the Fates. It's so good. It's so amazing.
Yeah.
And the moment that you see when Qui-Gon dies and Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan is trapped in that hallway and he sees his master die and he's screaming. And you see the difference between their characters, too. When they're first caught in that hallway, Qui-Gon sits down and starts meditating.
Yeah.
And Ewan McGregor is like, he's raring to go, he's ready to go,
Which is very unlike the Obi-Wan that we know from the original trilogy. It's like a very young portrayal of him, and that's very, very cool.
Yes.
It's very cool.
Really well done. And the whole lightsaber fight is so good, choreographed, and it's so good because of the emotional impact. Like, that's the other piece of it that makes it absolutely amazing. So, absolutely love that. Nate, what do you like about Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace?
Okay, so Liam Neeson does a great job as Qui-Gon Jinn, and does not get a lot of credit for that. And I will die on the hill that, like, Qui-Gon is if he lived, the entire story narrative would have gone completely differently, and that's that was actually well written in a movie that has some flaws. The pod racing scene is awesome. You talk about the extended editions of Lord of the Rings, right? There's an extended edition of the pod racing scene, and it's very cool. Yeah. I really like Darth Maul's portrayal of just like this silent killer, but you've already gone over that. But a huge part of what I like about Phantom Menace, and probably the biggest thing, is that Padme is at her best in this film. She is, she has agency. She, blasts droids to death and all of this kind of stuff. And she is the leader of her people, and it's very cool. Unfortunately, and we'll talk about the actual plots of episodes 2 and 3 later. But in episode 2, she's just kind of written to be courted by Anakin. And in episode 3, she's pregnant with Anakin's kids. And she's just kind of there to have the kids and be at risk of dying. Like, she blasts a couple of droids in the second one. She doesn't kill anyone in the third one. Very disappointing. And this is where she is best. Where she is like... She negotiates a treaty with the Gungans, who are like very not open to talking to the Naboo, and when like they actually get up to like the Viceroy of the Trade Federation or whatever, and she's like, now we'll discuss a new treaty. Like, she is like really, really cool. Like, that fight sequence, the Gungans, I don't really care about. The flying scene, I don't really care about, but the gunfight in the Thebe Palace is awesome, and it's led by her. And like, I wish that they would have kept that level of agency for that character in subsequent films, but they don't. So this is the best one. I like that a lot. Yeah, and that might be a fix for me later in Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith. But Dan, what did you fix about Phantom Menace?
Phantom Menace.
You gotta come up with something original, because everyone on the internet wants to change something about this movie.
Yeah, well, I don't know how original it is, because everything has been done to fix this. So tell me if you've heard this before. This movie suffers greatly from having 4 endings going on at the same time. Previously, Lucas was able to do a good job of balancing what was happening in Return of the Jedi. You've got 3, and I care about all 3 of them, and they're well-paced and everything. I don't care about what is happening in most of these endings. Like, the lightsaber fight is far and away the most interesting. It's amazing to watch, and then it cuts away, and I'm like let down. I'm like, wait,
go back.
I want to go back. Yes. So I understand that the Gungans are a distraction. Okay, that's fine. That can stay.
Yeah.
But the whole battle in space for me, if that is going to shut down the droids, then why do we care about taking back the palace? Why does that one matter? And so what I want to do is cut completely the whole battle in space.
Okay.
Anakin goes and hides in the cockpit. It seals shut, and R2 like locks it.
Or they just don't bring a 9-year-old child to a guerrilla war.
Well, I think that it gives a little bit of emotion for why they're fighting Darth Maul when Qui-Gon's like, hide. Like, run and hide right now. Get out of here.
Yeah.
So I like that he's there for that. But he goes and hides. He doesn't go into space. They don't destroy a droid control ship or anything. And I think that you can just cut those pieces out, have Natalie Portman still deliver that line, like, we'll discuss a new treaty, and then the droids shut down. so that it's her retaking the palace.
More agency, yes.
Yes, yeah. Which completely shuts down the droids. It saves the Gungans. Mm-hmm. They've done their part. And then she saves them the way that they saved her, which is a nice little, like, bringing it full circle with that relationship. Mm-hmm. And then you don't have the whole space flight and everything. I know that people crap on, like, oh, how's this kid, like, good at flying and stuff, like... Yeah. Okay, well, let's just take it out. Yeah. And then it gives it 3 endings. I care about all 3, like, a little bit more. And, yeah, that's my fix. What do you think?
I think you could do that, or you could put Padme in the space battle.
Oh, like she's flying a ship or something.
Like she's leading the squadron or something
Yeah. That'd be cool.
That, actually, so far has not happened in Star Wars. Counting the sequels, which you haven't seen, having a woman in charge of the squadron in the final, like, space battle, because there's always a final space battle. That hasn't happened still. Yeah. And like you could still use all of the exterior shots you've got, and just reshoot all of the interior cockpit scenes with Natalie Portman. That's true. And have her blow up the droid control ship from the inside and make it deliberate and not like, what does this button do? And then, have it blow up. Have it be deliberate. But, like, you could do that. And maybe I pursue that as an alternative to wiping the space battle and keeping the thing. But, like, yeah, have Natalie Portman blow the thing up. Then Luke gets the heritage of blowing a giant space thing up from his mom and not his dad, which I also like.
That is very cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I like your fix, provided that there's a tweak.
Okay. I guess. I'm fine with that. What do you have, sir? What are you going to fix about The Phantom Menace?
So, I mean, there are structural problems with the film.
Yeah.
There are tone and pacing and all of this kind of stuff. Part of it is the 4 endings. Part of it is the fact that we spend 45 minutes on Coruscant talking about the new Chancellor and stuff. I can sit through 45 minutes of politics if I care about what's going on. It's hard to care about taxation trade routes to a planet I've never heard of before.
Yeah.
And I stole this from a guy whose video I saw like 10 years ago. I don't even remember his name, but wait a second. Just do some of the ADR work. Do some work to change just like one thing everywhere in the script where it says Naboo. Cross that out and write Alderaan.
Oh, so it sets it up that Leia is like actually the princess of this thing, not an adopted princess. Okay,
yes,
I see what you're doing.
Actually, princess to the hierarchy, the hegemony or whatever of Naboo, now Alderaan, and also there's this planet, that it's like, oh, there's blockade around it. We're going to, oh, there's these native peoples. Like, why should I care? Was my response as like a preteen. Is like, well, why do I care about this one planet?
Sure,
because it's a galaxy wide thing. And if it's Alderaan, if it's that planet that I know is going to get blown up, that's the planet that gets blown up.
Right.
I get some idea of it. It punches a little harder in episode 4. So if you're watching this in chronological order, when Leia's like, "No, it's a peaceful planet. We have no weapons," and then they blow it up, you're like, "Oh, that's where the Gungans and the cute creatures live."
Yeah, that does hit home more. It's more of an emotional impact because you've seen it.
Yeah. So yeah, just make the planet Alderaan. That's not that hard. It's probably only mentioned by name like 5 times. Just ADR it.
Yeah.
And easy peasy. I would do that. I stole that.
That's a good fix.
Out of the fixes, that's a lesser thought of one, and it makes total sense to me.
It really does.
It makes me care.
It does. It makes you care more about this movie and, like you said, more for A New Hope.
Yeah.
But what do we know, Internet? We're just 2 guys talking here. The movie made like a gajillion dollars. I mean, we're just, a bunch of nerds got online and started hating on it. These aren't real problems. George Lucas, like, you did a great job. This isn't a real problem here. This is, as Taylor Swift would say,
oh God,
champagne problems. So,
I'll tell you, I had a whole outro lined up. I was going to make fun of the 3D release in 2011 and everything, and now you just threw me off the. I can't. I'm done. I'm done before this episode. No.
Oh man! So you tell us why we're wrong. I'm sure that we are. I'm sure that you can come up with some better thing for Phantom Menace. Tell us why you like it. Tell us why you hate it. Like the video if you like us. Subscribe, and we're going to do Attack of the Clones next, which you do not want to miss because it's going to be amazing, we always are.
Oh yeah, Attack of the Clones is the best Star Wars movie. That's not true, but it might just be the best episode of this podcast, given its state as a Star Wars movie.
So, who knows?
Yeah.
Well, all right. All of that being said, we hope that this finds you well. Have a good one, everybody.
See ya.